Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is your boy Aves coming to you with another music video. Well, no, it's not a music video reaction. I have to rewind it back. But I wanted to talk to you guys about something that has been on my mind for months now. I want to talk about this toxic positivity thing. In today's society and in today's culture, there's this ideology that's going on about toxic positivity, which is a good ideology, but I think some people tend to misuse the word toxic positivity as well as positive vibes, which is something that this new age, new generation Z has kind of created, this positive vibes thing. I'm fine with positive vibes. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's when it's misused, or when it's used out of context, or when it's not handled appropriately, because positive vibes could potentially be toxic positivity. It could be. So right now I want to kind of unpack this whole thing that I've been thinking about and contemplating for months, about toxic positivity and what is allowed and what is not allowed to be said in public forums. I want to start this off by giving an example. That way you guys can kind of understand what I mean when I say positive vibes only and toxic positivity. So I want to kind of give clarity to that. So say for example, I go to someone's live stream and someone says, the weather has not been that great. I don't like the weather. It sucks today, And then somebody else says, I haven't had a great day today. It's been kind of, blah. And, my boss fussed at me, but, it is what it is. Or someone just randomly says, I don't like the color blue. It's ugly to me. I think the color blue sucks. And then someone puts in the chat, positive vibes only. I want to break this down, because I think in our generation, a lot of people are under the impression or the assumption that stating an opinion that is based on personal preference and personal perception, what you like, what you don't like, especially what you don't like. People have this ideology that expressing such opinions is negativity. If I say I don't like Tuesdays, that's not negative. If I say I think this weather sucks, that's not negativity. That's literally an opinion. Opinions like those I don't consider negative, because they're not hurting or affecting anyone. I have not belittled, disrespected, demeaned, undermined anyone, made fun of, harassed, abused verbally. I haven't done any of those things in this opinion. This is simply an opinion on the weather, or simply an opinion on a color within the spectrum of colors, or an opinion based on the foods that I dislike. Those kind of opinions don't affect people. They affect no one, honestly. The sky is not offended that you don't like that it's blue. The weather is not offended that you don't like what it is today. You don't like that it's hot today. The weather doesn't care. The weather doesn't have feelings, emotions, a soul. How can it care? If anything, people make things a lot bigger than what it is. Opinions that are based on people, I think those opinions are a little bit worse. Those things are things I think that probably should not be said within a public forum, like a live stream or on Facebook. Not that I use Facebook that much. I don't claim to be that old. But that's a side rant. I digress. You put an opinion on a public forum about a certain group or person, And the way that you would word that opinion, I think, is the problem. If I say, for example, that I'm not a BTS stan, well, that's not really a problem. And actually, that's not opinion. That's actually more of a fact. It's a fact that I'm not a BTS stan. I'm just stating to you guys that I'm not a BTS stan, which that's not true. I'm just making that as an example. I actually am a BTS stan. But if I were to say, I think BTS sucks. I think Suga is ugly. I think Jimin is girly looking. And I think RM is a wannabe black guy. Like, if I did stuff like that, okay, that's negative. Like, that's you're blatantly disrespecting these people, right? I think that's negativity. That's negativity, okay? And I think society today has confused, or rather, they put all opinions that are dislikes in one category and call it all negative. Maybe for the sake of simplicity, maybe for the sake of maintaining order, but ultimately, it is policing. It is gatekeeping. And when I say gatekeeping, because you have to be gatekeeping of, something in order for it to be considered gatekeeping. You're gatekeeping the door of positivity. You're gatekeeping positivity, and you're saying, you can't say this. You're policing my words so that I can't make honest opinions, respectful opinions, or random opinions about anything that I feel. And I think this ideology is actually a very flawed ideology, a very new age, new world society ideology that I think needs to be combated. I don't see what's wrong with me saying that I don't like something, regardless of what it is. Like, for example, if I say I don't like K-pop music in general, I just don't think it's not for me. How is that bad? How is that negative? If I say I think K-pop music sucks, it's trash, that's a different story. Like, that's negative. That's obviously negative. I think we need to really get a grip on reality, because there are conversations that happen and take place within reality, within real time. And I'm not talking about this internet crap that some people think it's toxic positivity to tell people that I was going down a really downward spiral in life, and that I found your YouTube channel, and that when I started watching it, I started to feel better again. And because of your content, it's helped me. It's helped me to improve my mood, my attitude, my outlook on life. And I give you great credit and kudos, for that. Some people look at that as toxic positivity because because they are basing it on their emotion. If I were to say that to you, it's kind of pressuring you. It puts a pressure on you, because basically, I guess they're saying that their life was in your hands. That's really not what's going on here. They're actually showing gratitude for their YouTube channel, or for whatever a person has said or done that has impacted their life in such a way where it has changed their perspective. Their life was not in your hands. They just happened across your platform. That's it. And you gave them the positive, that positive feeling, that positive vibe, or vibe, whatever, vibration or whatever. I'm a 90s kid, so I'm not privy to all this stuff. Like, we didn't grow up saying positive vibes back in my time, but I digress. But it gave you positivity. It gave you energy. It gave you a willingness to keep pushing. Now, okay, I get it. You don't want people to tell their whole life story. It's not really their whole life story. It's just that they were depressed. Yeah, I've done it before myself. And people who have dealt with depression, this is a side rant, but people who have dealt with depression, they're still in that vulnerable state, even when they're getting out of it. how do I say this? People who have dealt with just depression in general, when they are getting through their depression, the person who was instrumental in that person's recovery, they will thank, they'll show appreciation for. And because they're in a vulnerable space still, because they're not fully recovered, they do tend to like pour out a little bit of themselves to express how much they're grateful. And this is a normal response within human beings who have dealt with depression. Some people deal with it differently. They don't say anything. Some people, like me, in that moment of vulnerability, I did thank someone and told them that I was dealing with X, Y, and Z. That's totally fine. It's not negativity. It's not even toxic positivity. Yeah, I do believe that maybe in a public forum where there are people of all ages watching, maybe it's not necessarily the best or wisest thing to say that kind of thing on a public forum. And I've made that mistake before. At least I consider it a mistake when I look back at it, because of how vulnerable I was. And this was like a long time ago. Not that long ago, but maybe 2 or 3 years ago. About 2 years ago. But I learned how to deal with my stuff over time. You know, when you get over being depressed, you do regain yourself again. But my point is, I'm sorry, that was a whole rant. I apologize. I'm going back to my topic. Me stating an opinion about an object or a thing, if I say I don't like dogs or whatever, that's not negative. Dislikes are not negative. And I think we need to be a little more careful, is my point, about what we categorize as negativity and just opinions. There's no such thing as a negative opinion unless you are talking about a person, at least to me. If you're talking about a person, because people feel, people have emotions, people have a soul, so they do feel things. You could hurt someone by saying your honest opinion of them. Regardless of whether it's a public forum or not, you could hurt someone's feelings. And in that sense, yes, stating an opinion that is blatantly negative, calling you ugly to your face, is a blatantly negative statement. It's not a fact, it's just my opinion of you. But if I say you're ugly to your face, that's negativity. If I say you're stupid, you're illiterate, these are opinionated statements, by the way. They're not just, oh, he just said something that, no, this is an opinion, but it is still a negative one. That's negativity. Here's the thing. People are not stupid, okay? We know what blatant negativity is, and we know what toxic positivity is. And honestly, it's funny, because the people who are saying positive vibes are actually the ones that are handing out the toxic positivity. They're actually the ones perpetuating the toxic positivity. Why? Because it is your ideology that says anything that is opinionated, that is a dislike, is negative in my eyes. Therefore, because I have, some kind of authority in public forums to time people out or whatever, if you say something like the weather sucks or whatever, that's negative, and that could potentially lead to problems. This is toxic positivity to me. This is toxic positivity. To tell people you can only say positive things that you think are positive. If you say something negative, put a positive spin on it, that to me is toxic positivity. You might mean well, might be no harm intended in what you're saying, but you don't understand there is a toxicity to this ideology that you hold so dear to yourself. And by having the authority to do whatever you want, on a public forum to people who make these kinds of opinionated statements, you can easily push your ideology onto another person by implementing a punishment for them saying said things. Now, maybe it's never happened before. Maybe it's never gotten to that point. But the fact that your ideology is so strong that you view this way, which in my opinion is a false thought. I don't think that that's a good idea, to lump every opinion that is a dislike with blatant negative comments, blatant negative statements, and put it together and call it all negative for the sake of order and simplicity. You've actually complicated the very word. You've actually complicated it by doing that, because now you're policing people's words to an astronomical degree, the likes of which would cause people to leave, would turn people off. If I can't be real here, I don't need to be here. If I have to constantly talk about how the sky is blue and beautiful and the sun is shining brightly and there's daisies and roses everywhere and I'm just tiptoeing through the tulips of life and it's just so beautiful and everything's so nice and positivity, everything's so positive, positive this, positive that, everything's so positive. I'm just having such a giddy day, such a day of glee and all this wonderful stuff. It's so fake. It comes across as fake. It comes across as phony. It's not realistic.
Well, this is not the place to talk about your problems. This is not the place to talk about this, that, and the other.
I don't really consider me saying that the weather sucks as a problem. I don't consider saying that I don't like a particular style of music. It's just not my thing. I don't see that as a problem. Whether it's personal or not, I don't consider that a problem. I don't consider it a problem to say these things. It's never been a problem. And that you view it as a problem is a problem in and of itself. And perhaps what I'm saying right now is all opinion. This is just coming from me. Yes, this is an opinion. But it is opinion based on what I've observed. I think if you're going to use the word positive vibes or the phrase positive vibes, use it in the way that it was meant to be used. Use it for what it was intended for. Don't use it to push your personal ideologies, personal politics, your personal views on what is positive and negative. Because what you view as negative is actually not negative. So basically what you're telling me is, in conversations you don't talk about this day sucking, the weather sucks, sometimes my life sucks. I don't like this color. This color doesn't look good on me. This color doesn't know that because that's negative, right? Statements like that, if they're considered negative to you, then I'm going to assume you don't have normal conversations with people, because that is in normal everyday conversations. Whether you're trying to maintain order in a public forum, or whether you're just having a conversation with a person offline, face to face, y'all drinking coffee or whatever, the rules still apply. You cannot force someone to not state their dislikes. You cannot impose some kind of rule. That's gatekeeping. Like, whether you know it or not, that's gatekeeping. I do want to deal with the whole idea of confrontation, because I think a lot of people may have issues understanding what the word confrontation means and what a confrontation entails. What you believe confrontation is not truly what confrontation is. If you think that confrontation is just negative, a confrontation is basically this side coming together with this side to discuss a problem and how to resolve the problem. Whether it's a peaceful confrontation or a violent confrontation. Peaceful confrontations is like when, I don't know if this is the right example, but like when the United Nations gather to discuss the problems. They're trying to resolve the problems peacefully by diplomacy, by conversating, by talking it out. Whereas if it's a war and this guy's like throwing missiles at this country, the other country will confront that country in war. That's, I guess you could say that's a negative confrontation, but it's kind of a bad example because it's called self-defense. We're defending our home. In simpler forms, if you do something or say something that kind of doesn't sit well with me, as a friend, I come to you in good faith and confront you on the issue. That's a positive confrontation if I'm not trying to stir up trouble. I'm just trying to get an understanding and then talk this through with you so that we can work it out and resolve that, okay? A peaceful solution to a problematic situation. That's a positive confrontation. A negative confrontation is if you come up to me and you say something. If you say something to me that's really rude or disrespectful, and then I come and return that same disrespect back to you, if I pay you back in kind for what you said or what you did, that's a negative confrontation. That right there is a negative confrontation. Or if I see something that you wrote that's really problematic and I come and I blast you out and fuss you out, that's a negative confrontation, because that's not going to solve anything. Yes, there is a positive and a negative confrontation. There's no such thing as, oh, confrontation is just a negative word. No. Society today has made it a negative word, has made the idea of confrontation negative, because we don't know how to separate or understand the difference between certain things, like confrontations and like positive and negative, or negative and opinions. And so it all ties in. I think we can develop our own ideologies to the point where we become completely ignorant of what an actual meaning of a word is, or what the actual meaning of negativity is, what the actual meaning of the word confrontation is. My hope is that we will learn how to understand the differences and stop trying to lump everything together, because if you do that, you're causing more problems than you're solving. By telling people they can't say anything about the weather that's bad, as if the weather is offended. The weather doesn't care. I hate that it's 12 o'clock. The clock doesn't care. I hate the color purple. Purple doesn't care. Try having a conversation with the color purple. See if it says anything back to you. Try having a conversation with the clock. See if it doesn't keep going. Toxic positivity is when you tell someone you can only say positive things. Only. And when you do say an opinion that is actually neither positive nor negative, but it's considered negative to that person who said you can only say positive things, you're pushing your agenda, your ideology onto that person and telling them they're wrong for saying an opinion that is based on personal preference and personal perception. That is a fallacy. That is a falsehood that needs to be dispelled. And this is a very unpopular opinion. I'm sure a lot of people probably won't watch this video. And I honestly don't care. I don't care because I get to say what I want on my channel. Like, regardless of whether people like it or not, I'm going to say what I want to say on my channel. And regardless if it's politically correct or incorrect, I'm going to say it. And I'm not really one who is beholden to anyone's power. I'm just here to spread positivity in the right way. It is okay in my comment section if you want to put that you have not had a good day. Because if I see it, it'll prompt me to want to encourage you. It is okay for you to tell me your opinion about things. Opinions are welcome. Okay? Just don't be rude. Don't call people names. Don't demean. Don't harass. Don't undermine people. Don't slander. Don't disrespect. Don't cause problems where there are none. You know what I mean? Arguments are okay as long as it's a healthy, respectful argument. Okay? Like, I'm not against arguments. We all argue. It's just what it is. I've been trying to understand and trying to figure out how to address this issue because I wanted to make a video about this without giving away too many details, because I did have an issue that occurred with me and somebody in a public forum, and it was a confrontation that was supposed to be positive, but it ended up being unfruitful because of the other person not understanding where I was coming from. I don't want to talk about that. I just want to talk about the ideology, the thing that started that confrontation, the thing that compelled me to address this issue. Some people don't know what positive vibes is. Truly, they don't. You don't know people until they reveal who they are. And when they reveal who they are, what they believe, their ideologies, apparently the act of confronting them is disrespectful, because you shouldn't question anything that they say, because they're right about everything they say. They find no fault in anything they say. A person that's not willing to accept correction or to even understand where another person is coming from is a person that cannot be talked to, a person that cannot be negotiated with, a person that you can't get any kind of reason out of. They won't see reason. Those are the kind of people to avoid. I probably should have had a script for this, but I don't know. Well, you cannot put opinions and negative statements in the same basket and call it all negative, because then I can't say what I really want to say. Even if it's in a respectful manner, I can't say it. I don't promote being rude and being disrespectful, but if you have an opinion, absolutely you can state your opinion. This is like freedom of speech. Like, you can say your opinion. Just be respectful. The only kind of policing I would do is if you are being blatantly disrespectful. Then it's like, yeah, no, we don't tolerate that kind of thing. Like, if you start making fun of LGBTQ, if you start making fun of people's faith, people's faces, people's appearance, you know, things like that, I don't tolerate that. This is not the place for that. But if you're just stating your opinion about something, respectfully, there's no problem with that. And that's my point. It's okay to state opinions, regardless of what people might tell you. And I want to say one more thing before I end this video. When I say that there are people that say positive vibes, I don't mean that everybody that says positive vibes has that mentality. Some people that say positive vibes actually know what positive vibes is. Other people have their own ideology of what positive vibes is, and they say it without any understanding of what constitutes as negative. Because if you think that me saying that, oh, you know, everything's fine, everything's great, everything's good, I just want to have a good time, blah, 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 that's fine. But if I say an opinion, just respect the opinion and move on. Don't try to chastise me or police me because I had an opinion about the weather. I don't care if it's an example. It is an example that you came up with, and you based every other negative opinion or every other negative comment on this example. This example is a representation of everything that you deem to be negative in a comment form. So you used it. If you're having issues with using that, you maybe should have used a different example, but maybe a more intense example, a true example of what you really meant. But if that's what you really meant, like that comments like the weather, or comments like I don't stand this group or that group, what you give is what you get, I guess. But anyway, that's my whole spiel. Thanks for watching, but I do want this message out there. I love you guys. I will see you in the next video. Peace.